Muskegon was a very prejudiced town.
If you were anyone who really wanted to see a change in how this system of government in the United States works, you wanted to be involved. I remember the ice cream parlor on Tech Street. You could go in and get ice cream, but you couldn't sell the booze.
On Western Avenue, we couldn't buy a hot dog. You know, it's something that was yesterday. That wasn't back in slavery. That was yesterday.
I just wanted to make certain no one else experienced that.
I'm grateful that I was a part of the NAACP.
And the march and the picking and trying to open up doors for blacks.
The same thing that you want are the same things that I want. And that's jobs, housing, and what's fair for everybody.
The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in 1913 started organizing and founded branches in cities throughout the United States. In the Muskegon branch of the NAACP was founded as branch number 3147 to begin its aim to improve the political, educational, social, and economic status of African Americans and other racial and ethnic minorities in Muskegon. Hopefully, we'll learn together how young people like myself can contribute to the change today and the continued fight for equal rights. My research took me back to the 40s to understand how we got here. We want to start with how and when did you come to Muskegon?
My family came in 1942.
I came to Muskegon in 1944.
Migrated from the South about 1944.
My dad was here, so I can't even be with my dad.
Even when the black population in Muskegon was only 150 in the 1920s, the NAACP was needed. That need continued as the population swelled to over 7,000 by the 1950s due to the migration of mostly young men coming along to work in factories and foundries.
Muskegon was a major industrial town. There were recruiters from Steel Power Corporation that actually went to places like Magnolia, Arkansas, and recruited black people to come to Muskegon. Many of the black people that came had very limited education, and coming to Muskegon to work in the foundry was the most money they could ever think about earning.
So when these men would come here, and none of them were younger guys too, when they would come here, there was no place for them to live. But some of the managers of the different factories came around and asked, I know they asked my grandmother, do you have room that you can spare for X number of people? And she said yes, so she rented those rooms out during the war.
The city was not prepared to house all of these black workers. They put cots, and the men would sleep in the cots in shifts. When one shift would get off, then they'd go and sleep in the bed, and then when it was time for the other shift to get off, then that person would have to release the bed for the next shift person. So that's where we got the title hotbed, in the sense that a bed really never had a time when the bed wasn't used.
And then those guys came here, single ones, came here and stayed there for like years. And with those guys that were married, they went back eventually and got their families. And then they had to start, building their projects, but it was never the intent of these factories for black people to stay here like they did. That was a surprise, and that had a lot to do with the housing. So that was how we lived until people could get jobs and do better. And when I say do better, purchasing their own homes.
I lived on my way back in Kansas City. I sat at the counter to get served. And I just kept sitting here and everybody getting served around me. So I asked the lady, what's happening? She said that you sat in the corner, I was serving. So I just bought an old Henry candy bar and got home. See, after the World War II, it should have been fighting here.
NAACP was always as it is today. It's a system that allows people to come together and talk about problems or crisis or what have you.
The NAACP has always been there. They've always been at the forefront, I think, of fighting for equal justice for everyone.
How did the Muskegon chapter of the NAACP get started? Bill Gill's relatives, I'm not sure if it's, his uncle or who they were, but his relatives started the local branch of the NAACP in 1919.
From 1919 till 1938, we don't have no record. But then when you get to the 40s, then we began to know who was the president and on and on.
1919, the year the Muskegon NAACP was founded, came to be known as the Red Summer for incidents of mass violence, racist mob attacks, and increased lynchings.
The late Bill Gill, who was president of the NAACP longer than anyone else. 21, 22 years he was president, and he was an excellent president, and he was a fighter. Gutsy guy.
He never backed down for trying to advance the cause of people of color in this community.
Billy would just jump all over you. He got his point across. And it took that back then because all the times you knew you weren't being treated fair. You had to go through it and what is my best route, and his approach was different than mine. I thought I could do it my way, but we were all effective in bringing about some change, and we didn't have to do it alike. You just have to do what you have to do to get it accomplished.
My father was a very big influence. I didn't realize how much of a big influence he was until his passing. Not only just Muskegon Banks, but I got his senators, judges that I had to talk to during that time, and knowing how much he's done not only for rights of black folks, but also the rights of women. Working with Susan Chavez, I didn't even know that. We met Nelson Mandela, and one night he met Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton asked him to help him with one of his campaigns in Michigan. So my father, he just a local person, he was so many faces that you see and hear about on TV, all the time.
Well, the activities that the NAACP developed, not just social activities, but activities to get changes made. The marches that were had at the time of meeting in churches when people who would not otherwise have been informed were informed of things that were taking place that would call them to action. This was what the meaning for life was for us because of the NAACP.
We used to meet, I believe, every Sunday for 5 or 6 years. Mr. Reynolds, Henry G. Reynolds, who was a mortician, and he owned Reynolds Funeral Home, and he allowed for the NAACP and other groups to come and meet at his funeral home.
Of course, the NAACP didn't work alone in the Muskegon area. They worked with organizations, unions, and churches to help get the message out on issues concerning the black community.
McAvoy was an organization bringing all of the black organizations together under one umbrella. You don't stop doing what you're doing at your organization, but you come together for an issue here for black people, and then you all get together for that. And that was McAvoy Black Organization of Muskegon County, and that was under the auspices of the NAACP.
We would look forward to the banquets once a year, down at the Freudenthal Theater and wherever these banquets were held. We had some attendance at banquets in schools, at Muskegon High School, and around the community. And these activities caused us to feel more involved than we might have otherwise. We're not separated, one on one side of the street and someone on the other side, but we were working together.
From 1955, up until 1966, you couldn't go into those restaurants. So in 1966, the state conference was here. 1966 was the first year that we as black could go to the Occidental Hotel and have a meal. Herbert Hill was the speaker. Herbert Hill was the national NAACP man over housing. Secret Morris and myself was in charge of the dinner. Herbert Hill spoke on, he told the story about going, they sent two blacks to see if they could get caught and they was out. Two white would come behind them and they would serve the white. Herbert Hill's speech was, usually I have nice things to say about people when they feed me, but you white people in this society make me sick.
I didn't realize about the NAACP when I graduated from high school. One of the friends I went to high school with, the only job I could get was an elevator operator. And the friend who I'm talking about was a wealthy friend, white friend. And he came by and saw me doing the elevator operation. He said, "See, Green, you was smart in school. Why are you running an elevator?" I said, "It's the only job I can get." He said, that doesn't seem right. I said, "That's what I can get, so I run an elevator." So I couldn't get a job. And then when they go looking for jobs like saleswomen and stuff like that, they weren't hiring us at that time.
Dr. Howard was quite a president. He was vocal, he was outspoken, and he was saying what ought to be said. All of those things went together with the NAACP and its progress. You picket different stores, you had cities.
One of the most significant boycotts was when the NAACP took on sanitary dairy by organizing community support when they refused to hire any African American person to deliver milk to homes.
What are they gonna do to the milk, you know? Because they're black, they can't handle the bottles.
They started doing